There's all sorts of crazy things that you're going to experience in fundraising. You're going to, like I said before, run into cranky donors. You're going to run into weird experiences at restaurants. Anything and everything can happen. And so just try your best to be prepared and practice a lot. The more you do these things, the more you get yourself in these types of experiences, the better off you're going to be to handle the unexpected. Welcome to the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast. Whether you are a seasoned professional or a first-time fundraiser, we have the advice you need to take your next step toward major gift mastery. I'm your host, Tom Dauber, President of Abundant Vision Philanthropic Consulting. More about restaurants here. Don't show up at the restaurant not knowing what you're going to order. Get online, read the menu in advance, identify the least messy thing you can order, and know. You don't want to be suffering from FOMO in that moment. You don't want to be debating, well, should I get this or that? Donor meetings need to be highly controlled as much as they can. You need things to be predictable. You need to stay on a particular timeline, right? A donor may only have 60 minutes for you. You don't want to spend 20 of those minutes trying to decide what you want on the menu. Know when you get there. Do your research. I'd even recommend, if it's an important meeting, I'd probably go there in advance and just sit down and eat there. Because what you're looking for is this a place that's conducive to a conversation? Some restaurants are very loud. It's hard to have a conversation without shouting, right? And of course, if you're shouting, then it's not just your donor that hears what you're saying. It's probably the couple tables next to you. You don't want that either. So again, to the extent you can avoid it, try to not go into donor meetings at restaurants blind. Figure out where you're going, understand what the menu is, understand what you're going to order, and understand if it's an appropriate environment. Now, sometimes a donor picks the restaurant for you, and there's nothing you can do about that. You just got to roll with it. But to the extent that you can be in control and can impact things, you definitely want to do that. And preferably, though, what you'd say is something along these lines. Hey, I oftentimes find restaurants kind of distracting, and this is a really important conversation that I want to have with you. Would it be okay if we just met in your home? Or would it be okay if we just met in your office? Anything along those lines to just help them understand a restaurant isn't always the best place. And here's another reason why you want to do that. When you're in a place that's personal to a donor, you're going to find out things about them that you wouldn't otherwise. You're going to probably have a better window into what their lifestyle is like. What sorts of hobbies and interests do they have? One donor, I discovered that they collected art. They love artwork. And, and what I was able to learn was that they had very expensive artwork, like work by artists I studied in art school. And that told me a lot about, what is their net worth? What is their capacity? Because people that collect, the masters, they are people that are at a different level, wealth-wise. Knowing all that stuff is really helpful. Or there was another visit I went on, meeting appointment. I don't like the term visit because it implies that it's social. And I'm a big believer in the fact that these are business meetings. There is a purpose to them. There is an agenda. We're not just becoming buddies, right? So there was another donor appointment that I went on, and I met the donor in their place of work. And donors love that. They love being able to share something that they've worked hard on with their friends and colleagues and people that they respect. It means a lot to them. So it's a great way to express your value to one of your donors is to if they're a small business owner, go see their business, ask for a tour. They love that. And they should, because again, they're sharing a part of their life with you that's important. But I went on this trip, and I sat down in the CEO's office, and I looked to the right of the CEO, and there was a shelf there. And on that shelf was a picture of Jesus. There was a picture of his grandkids, and there was a picture of our school. In that moment, I knew that he valued us very highly and that we were probably going to close a large gift. Now, it took some time. But sure enough, we really did. You know, seeing how the individual relates to your organization privately. Is your newsletter up on their fridge? Or is it sitting out? Are there things related, to your organization that are prominently displayed there? That's going to tell you a lot about their affinity for your organization. So another thing to be thinking about on donor calls, and again, this could be something that someone might teach you in a course on fundraising, but it's still helpful. So I'm going to bring it up anyway. We all have scripts that we're prepared with in terms of how we might respond to a donor, or, if they ask me what our needs are, what would I say, right? I would encourage you to try and you do want to know what you're going to say. I mean, it is important to be prepared. But rather than jumping right into some pre-planned script, I'd encourage you to respond with another question. Don't be quick to jump into whatever your spiel is, right? Continue asking questions. So so there's this dear lady who had been out of touch with this college I was working for some time, but we knew we were in her estate, and no one could get a hold of her. They'd been trying off and on for years, and finally I got through, and I got an invitation to meet with her, and so I came down to see her, and she said something to me along the lines of, I don't really need this money. Maybe I could give it to you now. Like, what sorts of needs do you have? And man, I blew it. I went right into a spiel about charitable gift annuities because she was older, and I thought maybe that she would want to make money. And I was pretty early in my career, didn't know what I was doing. And the whole thing went sideways. We didn't get that gift. In fact, anyway, the point being was it confused her. And she ended up going to the executive of her state and talking with him about that. And he was like, no, you can't do that. And all these sorts of things. When in reality, I think all she really wanted to do was write us a check. Instead of trying to explore those things with her, or give her a specific spiel about or about a specific opportunity, the right response in that situation should have been a question. I should have asked, tell me what you have in mind. That's a magic question, by the way. Tell me what you have in mind. If someone starts talking to you about the gift, ask them what they're thinking about. That's going to help you ascertain more about the range they're thinking about, the gift vehicle they're thinking about, or even why they want to do it. All of that's going to be a helpful guide to you. You'll get so much farther in your gift conversations if you just ask really good questions and talk less. Being a great fundraiser isn't about presenting. It isn't about talking. It's about asking, and it's about listening. Another important thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about donor meetings, if you're going to run into an angry donor from time to time, just remember, an angry donor is a passionate donor. We often think of love being the opposite of anger, and since we want donors that love us, we avoid the angry ones, right? But that really isn't how it works. The opposite of love isn't anger, it's apathy. It's the person that doesn't care, right? So who you want to avoid are the people that don't care. A person that's angry about something in your organization is a person who cares about what you're doing. Tom Dauber here for Abundant Vision Philanthropic Consulting. Fundraising can be hard work, and it can be hard to mentally get into the place you need to be in order to see new opportunities. Everyone struggles with it. We are like the fish in the fishbowl who just can't see the water they're swimming in. That's when having outside expertise comes in handy. For 25 years, I've been helping nonprofits analyze their challenges, discover new ways forward, and develop clear plans that lead to greater fundraising revenues. Now I am available to help your organization develop the abundant vision it needs to inspire new levels of philanthropy at your nonprofit as well. Check out abundantvision.net to start your journey toward greater fundraising success today. Now, back to the show. So you need to view that as a person who's very passionate, who cares a lot, and is moved to great emotion over something they see that isn't right. And I'll never forget that, one of the first angry donors I met, I was able to identify what it was that really was making him angry because I listened to him. And I was able to work out with him a way that he could make a gift that would directly address the thing he was angry about and help us fix it. And we were able to close a really nice gift. I think it was like $50,000 with this person who really started out that conversation giving me a lecture about all the things that he thought were wrong with the organization. Another thing along those lines, this was a person who was in a smaller community. You want to be very careful not to make assumptions about smaller markets and impoverished communities even. Working with healthcare professionals, what you'll find is that many of them who practice in those smaller communities, they have some means. And if you're engaging them in ways that impact things they care about, even that community, they're going to be interested in hearing what you have to say. You'll also find that many folks in that particular type of scenario, they may be hiding their outward signs of wealth. I remember talking to a dentist once who was in a rural community, was not a particularly wealthy community, and his vehicle was pretty beat up. And he said to me, he's like, "Look, I don't want a person who gets a bill from me for a crown to think that they're paying for my extravagant lifestyle." And this person clearly had money and he was successful and stuff, but when he went out of his way to not be showy about it. And you'll find that in many scenarios, especially in small towns, that there are going to be really wealthy people who are very careful in the way they present themselves out of respect and love for the communities that they're in. So don't make assumptions that, well, I can't raise major gifts in Appalachia, or I can't raise money in this other area. You can, and I have. I mean, I can tell you that there were seasons where I was head to head with fundraisers, raising money for the same sorts of things, but they were in big cities and I had the small towns, and there were certainly seasons where I raised more money than those people. And money can be raised in that environment. And another thing about outreach to keep in mind, you want to be persistent in your outreach, but you don't want to be weird about it. I'll never forget, I like to visualize my data. That's another tip is, get all your addresses, enter them into mapping software so you can see where everybody is on your map. That's going to help you plan your travel out way better. But I could see this individual in the middle of in the middle of a very wealthy area, and I knew he had money because his office was in probably some of the most expensive real estate in the world. Right? That's where this guy's office was, and he didn't live too far from there, walking distance really. But I didn't know how to get a hold of him. I talked to his classmates; they didn't know him. I had no clue how to get a hold of him. I called his office, and his gatekeeper, his receptionist, would not let me speak to him. Always gave me the brush off. You'll find that a lot in bigger cities. But anyway, you don't want to be the person that's calling every 30 days, right? If you're not getting through, if you try it a couple times, spaced out over 9 months or so, just let it rest. Try a different means of communication. You're not going to get the receptionist to let you in just because you call it a fifth time. It's not going to happen that way. You might want to try a different time of day. Maybe the receptionist is out at lunch and somebody different answers the phone. That could happen. I tried email. I tried snail mail, all the different things. Couldn't work. Well, it just so happened I was in this big city to visit somebody else. But again, was within walking distance of this individual's office. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to bring a really nice gift, something that was branded with my organization. It's actually a history book about the organization, and I'm just going to take it, drop it off with a note in the thing as a gift, and let them know. Love to talk with them sometime. So I walk in. This was a dental office. I walk in, and it was around lunchtime, and person at the desk smiles warmly, greets me, and turns out the receptionist is gone. It was this dentist's daughter, and she ushered me right back to see him. She said, "Oh man, he'd love to talk with you." So I gave him that present. Heard some fantastic stories from his life and career, and he invited me uh, to bring the dean back uh, to talk with us more about the school. And at really one of the most influential kind of hoity-toity sorts of places in his city. But all that being said, is that you just don't know what's going to work with somebody, so you got to try. I mean, I think of another dentist, and I was really like friends with his receptionist. Like we were tight. We'd chat about our kids, all those different things, and she would always try to connect me to him, and it would never work out. He wouldn't respond to email. But if I contacted them on Facebook Messenger, I would get a response immediately. Now, I don't necessarily recommend doing Facebook with donors all the time, but it worked out that way in this particular scenario, and it was a lifeline to him because it was the only way. Wouldn't answer his phone, wouldn't respond to texts, but Facebook Messenger, he was all about, and so that's just what I did. So everybody has a different way of wanting to communicate, and it's your job as a fundraising professional to figure out what works for them and to honor that. Now, one last thing to keep in mind: always be inviting people to deeper engagement, especially through experiences with your organization. I'm not a big fan of events, but sometimes you're doing events. Sometimes there are things that happen with your organization that are event based that would happen whether there was fundraising going on or not. Um, Invite people to those things, and just remember, even if it's just a dinner with you and a one of your leaders, even if they say no, it's really important to not view that as a failure. When you reach out to someone and invite them to something, you're communicating to them something about their importance to your organization. You're helping them understand that, yeah, I have value because they're thinking of me. In many ways, a rejected invitation is even more valuable than a accepted invitation, because what you've done is you've communicated to that individual that you're valuable, we want you around, you matter to us, right? They've declined, but they still got that message. So you don't have to pay for them to be there if that's part of it. But at the same time, they've made space for somebody else. So that's one other person in their space, that in their place, that you can invite to be a part of that. So anyway, just remember, um, always be inviting people into deeper engagement through experiences with your organization, and even if it doesn't go the way you want it to, don't view it as a failure, because an invite in itself communicates value. Well, that's about all I have for today. There's all sorts of crazy things that you're going to experience in fundraising. You're going to, like I said before, run into cranky donors. You're going to run into weird experiences at restaurants. Um, Anything and everything can happen. And so just try your best to be prepared, and practice a lot. The more you do these things, the more you get yourself in these types of experiences, the better off you're going to be to handle the unexpected. Now, if you have questions about specific issues that might come up, or even if you have your own story that you want to share, something where there's a great learning, reach out to me, let me know, make a comment, either on my blog site, or email me, or You can, I think, leave a comment with the podcast there too. But let me know, because I'd love to hear your stories. Anyway, thanks again for listening. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Hope you all are having a great summer, and happy fundraising. Now, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. As always, I'm your host, Tom Dauber. Thank you for joining me as we journey together toward major gift mastery on the Abundant Vision Fundraising Podcast.